Hello, hello again, guys. I am here playing Katawa. So I think we're on our first date because it looks fancy. So I'm pretty sure this is about the last thing I had in mind when Lily said she'd decide where we'd have our date. No man nor woman is dressed in anything but their finest, their formality only matched by that of their surroundings. Rich red wallpaper adorns the walls of the city. The lights far below in a flickering glow. That rhymes. Give me a sec. I gotta. Telephone. Give me a sec. Sorry about that. Phone call. Anyway, rich red wallpaper. That's a frickin' tongue twister. Adorns the walls as the city lights far below flicker and glow. That rhymed. Combined with the ambient hum of a quiet speech and high-pitched clattering of cutlery and wineglass, the mood is very formal, yet relaxed enough for me not to feel too uptight despite this being our first real date. Once we get seated, our waiter leaves to attend the others with a quick bow after an appreciative nod from Lily. Far from depending on my help, Lily's managed to navigate herself around the surprisingly easily so far. Ugh. Despite the unfamiliar environment, a light brush here and there, and she's generally quite deft at orienting herself as needed. Ooh, fancy. My eyes look at Lily's. I can tell from her face that she's listening to her surroundings just as hard as I'm looking. Though, truth be told, my eyes are lingering on her each time they sweep across the room. The red cheongsan she's wearing accentuates her figure very well and shows off her legs. Even her hair is done up, and the scent of perfume is just noticeable. With my black suit, while my black suit may be a rental, I managed to select an appropriate one. It feels surprisingly comfortable considering I've only rarely worn one, and it fits the setting just as well as Lily's attire. I guess this is a new experience for us both then. She turns somewhat sheepish. I've never come to a place such as this before, no. One hell of a first date, that's for sure. It's going to be pretty hard for me to top this. A small giggle, even now, our nervousness is dissipating. Her hand skates across the center of the table until it touches the menu, which she takes in both hands and brings to her face. Haseo? As she lowers the beige laminated sheet just below her eyes, I can see another sheepish look. I doubt asking the waiter for a menu in Braille would be productive. I can read it out loud for you, no problem. I take mine and take a quick read, with a small grin faltering. Perhaps there is... What's wrong? There's quite a few items on here, and I'm not completely sure how to pronounce a couple of them. One fine cuisine after another is listed. Most may be in Japanese, but there are a few in English and French. I guess it's to be expected, but I have no idea what's in some of these. Oh, this one I recognize. Wait, hang on. You can cook that. A small giggle of amusement comes from behind the paper sheet. Well, I could read them out loud, but it'd take a few hours. Is there anything with some kind of fish in it? Let's see. No. Aren't those poisonous? No. They eat that stuff? No. Ah, here we go. Oh, that's me when I read a menu. Tuna salad seems to be a good bet. From the picture, it looks like it'd be pretty filling as well. That seems to be reasonably safe option. Let's order 2 then. I'm pretty sure a couple of these dishes are far from poisonous animals. I've had enough deadly run-ins for now. Lily maintains a smile, but there's a distinct lack of laughter. Black humor mustn't be her cup of tea, though to be honest, I don't find it exceedingly funny either. Yeah, that was a terrible joke. There are certainly quite a few interesting smells wafting about. The same is true of the sights, I assume. I've never been anywhere quite like this. A fancy Japanese tea house on occasion, or two, but never anything this lavish, nor European in styling. Before another word can be said, a portly waiter in a distressingly tight vest appears at our table to take our orders. Provençal tuna salad, Nikos, please. 2. I hope I didn't mess up the pronunciation of that too badly. Even if I did, he doesn't show it. And may I have a glass of Chardonnay, please? Haseo? Oh, the same. As the waiter nods and leaves, I suddenly realize what I said by absent-mindedly mimicking Lily's answer. I regret it pretty quickly. Alcohol? Only a bit. Come on, let her drink. This girl has an odd propensity to getting hooked on things, I swear. Surprisingly, that they didn't ask for identification. But then again, I guess we both do look mature for our age. Grown-ups. I'll have to take your word for it, and I'll add that this isn't what I'd call the type of place to ask such things, though. Good point. We both relax a little into our seats, trying to take our minds off the choking formality of the surroundings. As soon as we do, the same waiter reappears at our table with 2 empty glasses and a bottle, the contents of which are quickly and professionally poured into the former. We both nod politely as he leaves, Lilly taking her glass and gently moving it from side to side. The liquid inside glistens as it moves in the glass. I have to admit, it makes me a little regretful for ordering the same. I guess it must take effort to judge how a liquid is acting based only on its center of balance. Maybe it's like her origami, taking every little chance to practice her dexterity. I guess I'm not surprised that you know about this place. Those who have money would, I suppose. This reminds me of just how completely different our upbringings were. In Yamaku, it's easy to forget about social and economic disparity between students all wearing the same uniform, living in the same dorms. Well, Akira was the one to tell me of it. She's come here before, apparently. So that's what they were conspiring about on Friday. And you chastise me for cheating? That's not cheating. It's simply making use of personal contacts. If you say so. Still, I get the feeling that you're more familiar with this kind of restaurant than I am. She pauses for a moment, a wistful look on her face before softly smiling. The compliment seems to brighten her mood. You can thank my former school for that. If I were to appear any less, they'd be gravely disappointed. She has mentioned her previous schooling before, but now I'm kind of curious. She seems to think a lot about her past, so I don't see any point in asking. What was that like? Problem. It was pretty prestigious. It was a prestigious all girls and Catholic. These facts made my parents choose it for me. Many wealthy families sent their daughters there. All girls schools. From how it sounds, life must have been pretty strict. I wouldn't say it was a bad experience, but you're quite right. It was very strict. Thankfully, I managed to adapt well enough and make a number of friends. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for my sister. She found the atmosphere and religious aspect suffocating and ended up leaving for a job as soon as she was able to. She gives a small and self-depreciating chuckle. I shouldn't complain about it, though. Not many have even had the chance to go to such a school. Do you resent your parents for sending you there, then leaving? She gently shakes her head. My family is highly patriarchal. My father, business always on his mind, was entirely lost as to what to do with me. In the end, he made the decision that my education was of higher priority than staying with the family. He simply did what he thought was best. To say such things so easily, what an unbelievable girl. That said, I'm a little surprised she doesn't think her blindness played any part at all, though maybe I'm being too harsh on her family. You're too kind-hearted, you know that? Most would hate their parents for something like that. Well, some do. Oblivious to my raised eyebrow, she takes a sip from her glass. The wine slips down effortlessly, her fondness for it evidently helping her deal with the flavor of the alcohol. Oops. I can't say... Wait, what was the last line? Crap. Gotta stop skipping. I can't say the same goes for me. What kind of yourself? What was your schooling like? Mine? Let's see. It was fairly normal public school, I suppose. Maybe a bit busier than the norm. I did quite well in class and played soccer in the club. Since I am an only child and my parents both worked a lot, I wasted most of my free time and money at the arcade with my 3 friends. No matter how much I played, though, I never did manage to beat Mai at any of those machines. Even Takumi and Shin lost to her whenever they tried. And then I'd be left trying to be the responsible adult when Shin and Mai fought again. Just for the 4 of us, aimlessly enjoying our childhood. Those were some pretty silly times. I catch myself as I realize I'm starting to zone out. The days of my old school disappearing to the night sky and the bright city lights outside the window. Lilly's face is an odd mixture of curiosity and sympathy. Given her strict schooling, I suppose something like that would seem an interesting contrast to the only life she's known. It sounded like your previous school was a lot of fun. I'm not really sure how much of it is nostalgia, but there are some nice memories. That's in the past, though. I can't go back there now, but through my accident, I found a new life I'd never have imagined leading. The peace and calm of Yamaku, a new direction for my future in science, this friendship of Shizune, Misha, and Hanako, and most of all, you. She gives a deep, genuine smile as she moves her hand towards me, her fingers just lightly searching out my face before shortly caressing my cheek. That's his nose. Her hand reluctantly retreats after a second of warm silence as we notice the waiter arriving with our meals. Lily does a deft job at covering her condition, except for the fact that her nod to him was slightly misaligned due to his silence. She seems to work hard at it, appearing as normal as possible in public, while I noticed it a while ago. I still can't gauge whether it's a want to not be treated differently? A slight sense of vanity? Or a mixture of both? The dish served up to the salad name, and the portions pleasantly large. With sliced egg and tomato, it looks enticing indeed. Lily takes her knife in one hand and a fork in the other, quickly getting to work on the dish as I do. It's later that when we usually have dinner, so we're both eager to dig in. Blah, blah, blah. My cautious skewering of leaves and vaguely meat-like squares with my fork is matched by Lily's silent and measured prodding and chewing. An occasional tap around the sides of the piece of the food to work out its edges is the only giveaway to her lack of sight. And I'm done with my meal in a little time. Lily takes the last few bites as I sit observing her. Finished, Haseo? Yeah, it was pretty nice. That much is very true. I never thought a simple salad could be so tasty and filling, but then again, I suppose that's why it costs so much to eat here. Content with my appraisal, and evidently agreeing, Lily gives a small nod. You know, given that you're part foreign, exotic-looking, and quite pretty, I'm surprised that nobody's ever confessed to you before. You're assuming nobody did. You pretentious bitch. The simple statement takes me off guard. I shouldn't be surprised, given that I was complimenting her just moments before. Really? I've received several confessions, both in school and in this school and my previous one. Adolescence is a funny time. She's kind of talking as if she's above it herself. Huh? How easily you say such a thing. Lily looks surprised for a moment before a playful smirk covers her face. Is that jealousy? What? No, it isn't. You're a bad liar, Haseo. You should take that into account. Then again, I do appreciate how sincere you are, even if you don't intend to be sometimes. I think your honesty will always serve you well when dealing with others. I clear my throat in mock disapproval of the whole business and try to steer the conversation elsewhere. To tell you the truth, though, I do prefer solitude to being surrounded by others. I don't think I could maintain a social circle like you. She contemplates this for a moment. I don't think that's true either. I've seen how gentle and caring you are around Hanako, and you get on marvelously well with others, even those whom you hardly know. I think it's quite adept at social blah blah, whatever. I lost my train of thought. But on that note, what of your confessions, Haseo? I'm sure someone like you must have had at least one admirer. As I open my mouth to speak, I feel my face turn slightly dour. At times like this, I secretly appreciate the fact that she can't see my expressions. Just one. Her name was Iwanako. It was when she confessed to me that I had my heart attack, there in the woods during winter. Lily finds herself speechless, not expecting the topic to move in such an area. My condition has always been something of a concern for her, sometimes that I strive to minimize despite my body's best efforts to the contrary. Afterwards, she visited me for a while when I was in the hospital. For a week, she came in and talked. It was usually just small talk or classroom gossip, but that was enough. But eventually, she stopped coming. She was there every day, then every other day, then once a week, then finally one day she just stopped visiting entirely. Did you ever see her again? Wrapped around my own little world, I shake my head before remembering the futility of this gesture. The memory of that single letter Iwanako sent me comes back to mind. I never saw her again, but after I was sent to Yamako, she wrote me a letter. Lily's face shows an expression I know well. I've piqued her interest. I'd be slightly offended that if it's simply a matter of curiosity for her, but she's never been very good at masking her reactions. In hindsight, it didn't really say much. What was going on in my old class, how she was faring, and most of as an afterthought, that it was probably best for us that we don't see each other again. After reading it, I ended up resenting a lot of things I thought I'd managed to work out. For the most part, the letter reminded me that the world around me was still moving and just how much I'd become isolated from it. And I guess it's also reminded me of what I've lost. And she gives that information some thought before her face lights up in realization. No doubt she's worked out that it was the letter which had contributed to my angst during that lunch on the rooftop. It's a rare sight to see Lily so quite lost for words, her entire persona a little deflated from the earlier rapt interest. As charismatic as she is, in the end, that isn't any replacement for life nor relationship experience. Perhaps it's better she sent it than not. How's that? It can be difficult to work out how to best communicate with those you haven't met in a long time, all the more considering your separate situations. Instead of doing what was easiest, she built up the courage to talk to you one last time, not only for her sake, but from the sound of it, yours as well. Maybe I don't hate her for it, but not that I really did. I don't know. Okay, so the video is actually coming up to 15 minutes, and that's too long for my channel, so I'm going to end that here. Like the video and rate and, do all that good stuff. Later.